Ventures has informed vendors that there will be no refunds. However, the company says a virtual expo event is being planned to go along with the virtual marathon in September, and they're welcome to be part of that. It was a busy day of protesting outside the State House in Boston. 3 rallies were held at the same time outside the building yesterday. One of them was Back to the Blue event supporting police. Another was held by landlords opposed to the proposals for rent control. And the third was involving Native Americans demanding a ban on mascots that depict indigenous people and a change to the Massachusetts state flag. Mosquitoes trapped in Medford, Massachusetts have tested positive for West Nile virus. The State Department of Public Health says mosquitoes trapped recently in southeast Medford were carrying the virus. The report comes days after mosquitoes infected the West Nile were found in the Brighton section of Boston. The virus can be deadly to the elderly and those with compromised immune systems, although most people infected do suffer no symptoms. The Boston Resiliency Fund has provided over $23 million in grants since being formed in March. That fund was set up by Mayor Marty Walsh of Boston to help Boston companies and citizens impacted with the coronavirus pandemic. City Councilor Michelle Wu criticized the fund being run through city government, saying it distorts the political process, and Walsh counters that Wu should give him a call. He'd be very pleased to explain the many positives of that fund. Massachusetts has borrowed close to $500 million to help cover all the recent unemployment filings. The state has borrowed $455 million from the federal government after the account used for the program was drained. Over 500,000 people were collecting unemployment benefits in the state last week. Hundreds of thousands of people across Massachusetts have been laid off or furloughed. Good morning, and welcome to Coffee Ann, the longest-running panel discussion show in American radio. To make a comment or ask a question of the panel, call 401-766-1240 or email coffee@woonsocket.radio.com. And now, let's join the Coffee Ann panel.
Yes, good morning. It is Coffee Ann on ON Radio. It's Friday morning. It's July 17th. It's raining out. Hooray. I'm Joe Callahan. Thanks for joining us this morning at the Coffee Ann table. We're going to say good morning to State Representative Bob Phillips. Good morning to you, Bob.
Good morning, Joseph.
Nice to have you here with us.
Thanks for inviting me again.
And a little later on, we're going to have Dave LaHouse from Kay's Restaurant joining us. So get all your Kay's questions
I hope he's
together.
bringing food with him.
Well, I didn't ask him to bring food. I always leave that up to them. And Dave Richards was being a funny earlier, there we go, when he said, let everyone know that we've also offered equal time to all of Bob's opponents this time round. And here they are. He doesn't have any. So hey, easy for you, right? All you got to do is get all your signatures together.
I have all my signatures together. I've been told by the Board of Canvassers that I have enough certified to be on the ballot.
Excellent. And now all you got to do is show up and vote for yourself. Make sure you do that.
And all of my friends.
Yes, that's right. Because you never know. You might get some write-ins.
You always tend to have
do.
somebody that wants to write in anyways because some people just don't like the system the way it is. And that's fine. That's their opinion, and that's the way we run the country. We let them do what they need to do.
You're right. But we'll say congratulations on your victory when it comes up in November. So. And now, how many times have you been reelected? How many terms will this be?
This will be going into 6 terms, and I'm going to use the same phrase that another person I knew that was down there for many years. He says, "You'll know when it's time to leave." Besides, if you lose the election. But I'm saying sometimes it's like you'll know when to leave because either the fire isn't there anymore or you've accomplished everything you wanted to accomplish down there. And I've got a few more things I want to accomplish, so. Trying to get a couple of them passed this year, although with this situation we're in, Don't know how much more is going to get passed this year other than
Yeah.
the budget. That's going to be the biggest focus right now, and it's not going to be. We always say that.
Fun.
Yeah, we always say that the budget is tough every year, but this one is going to be monstrous.
Yeah, yeah. Before we get to that, Bob, and other things going on, we do have a message that was written in, and I want to get to this because it's fun and it's kind of silly. So we're going to bring it up right now. It's got nothing to do with you.
Oh, okay.
By the way, it says, just when you thought you heard it. Oh, you can write in comments, by the way, coffee@wonsocketradio.com. Just when you thought you heard it all, here comes the deranged and disturbed Mike Tyson at the age of 54. He's going to battle it out with a shark. Have you heard about this?
No.
Maybe he should have his ears bit off.
Oh,
Little
boy.
joke there at the
Oh,
end.
my
Yeah, Mike, he's coming out of retirement.
They're saying he's coming out.
He's
Yes.
coming to have a regular boxing match, but as a publicity stunt of some sort, he's supposed to fight a great white shark. Now, there's a thousand problems with this right off the bat. Like the shark doesn't know he's in a fight,
Right.
And how do you get boxing gloves on those fins? It'd be very difficult. So, do you remember a couple of years ago they were going to have Michael Phelps race a shark, and it kind of fell apart, and it never happened because they couldn't quite figure out how do we tell the shark to go.
Well, he would just follow the movement of Michael Phelps, and
Well-
if with the plexiglass in there, if
Yeah.
you do with the plexiglass,
But there's still no 100% chance that the shark's just going to. Well, sharks have to keep moving anyway,
Right.
Or else they're going to die. But to get one to get some speed going, how do you let it know?
usually they usually are affected by the movement of the water
Yeah.
too. So,
But only if they're hungry. Sharks kind of don't do anything.
and when isn't a
unless-
shark hungry,
Well,
Joe? Have you talked to one lately?
Not lately, but I've been to, my research has taken me to some aquariums.
Okay.
And I've seen sharks that they just swim around.
Docile.
Yeah, and they eat when they're hungry. They just don't. Like in Jaws, they are not a mindless eating machine. Okay, and which is why the seal population is the way it is out on the Cape. They only eat one when they're hungry. I don't know how long a seal dinner lasts. Maybe it's that. Okay, we're good all day, and so
Couple
we don't.
of
We
bites,
just,
maybe.
maybe, and so when we're done eating, we're done eating, and then we frolic with the seals. I don't know, but this thing with Tyson and fighting the shark just seems really, really dumb.
I
and
thought
silly.
he was coming out of retirement to really fight somebody
He
else
is.
that's older.
No, I didn't think older. I didn't know who he was going to fight.
Isn't George Foreman supposed to be fighting somebody too again, coming out of retirement?
I
I
don't
thought I
know.
heard
He's even older.
probably 2 months ago
Yeah.
that they were going to both be coming out and having a boxing match with somebody.
It just seems so. It really doesn't interest me.
Well,
And,
see how bad COVID has gotten to us?
that people will actually watch it. It just reminds me. They had that celebrity boxing a few years ago.
Yeah.
And I didn't watch that. I said, this is just going to be embarrassing. And it turns out, from what I've read, it was. So that's what this is. Silliness is going to turn into. But watch for it if you want to. It's up to you. Mike Tyson fighting a shark. Although, who's going to tell the shark you're in a fight?
I'll pass.
Okay. So, Bobby, you've been spending a lot of time down at the State House.
I have been spending time off and on, mainly at my office at the house,
Yeah.
just receiving phone calls, making phone calls to try and help people out. To whether it be with DLT, DMV. I've had a couple of people that have called. Somebody from the city called and asked. They had somebody that was hired and needed some help with DMV, so I made a phone call and was able to help that person out. Mm-hmm. So,
All right.
that's what most of our job right now is to do, is to try and cut through red tape, try to see if we can just get things done a little bit quicker than what normally happens. Mm-hmm. And there's so many people that are frustrated with the phone system with DLT because they're just inundated.
DOT is?
DLT. I mean, DMV. Excuse me.
Okay.
Oh no, DLT. I'm
which is
working
it?
on all. I'm working on all different ones.
DLT is unemployment.
Yes.
Okay.
DLT.
Yeah.
Their system is just so swamped with calls that people are just calling. I got one Tuesday, and he said, I've called, and I can't get through.
It's just always busy?
It's always busy
Oh,
because
okay.
they're picking it up as fast as they can, but there's so many thousands of people that are trying to get a hold of DLT.
Mm-hmm. We just had the story yesterday. Rhode Island unemployment is 12.4%
Okay.
in June.
Yep.
And that's down.
That's down.
Yeah.
It was 13.7, 13.9. And now it's down.
At least it's
least
trending.
it's down. It's, it's
going
down, which is good.
But I can see, 12% is a huge number. So all those people trying to get a hold of unemployment, and I can see where they're getting a lot of busy signals because there's only so many phones there.
And DLT is on the call on Tuesdays with Lieutenant Governor Dan McKee. He's got a call at noontime for all small businesses. Dan's been working his tail to the bone trying to get things done for small business. That petition he had that was sent to the governor's office about releasing some of the COVID money or the CARES Act money to small businesses to help them stay afloat.
And didn't the state get $1.29 billion?
1.25 from what I gather.
Okay.
If it could be 1.29, they keep trickling in every once. Maybe it is 1.29.
But the governor seems to be sitting on it.
It seems that way.
Yeah.
And there was, Dan was asking for, the lieutenant governor was asking for $125 million to help the small businesses. And she's going to start doing it now, but it took this petition before she would even do anything. Why she wouldn't have done it beforehand, knowing that all small businesses were hurting because she shut them down, is beyond me.
Well, it's good. We're going to try to shoot it off into
Other areas,
somewhere else.
Exactly.
And maybe no one will notice.
Due to the tenacity of the lieutenant governor saying, we've got to keep these people afloat. And Dan's also a small business owner himself, so that gives him some inward knowledge of the workings of small businesses.
Yeah. And there already have been some that have closed permanently.
And there's some large
not up here that I'm aware of.
There's
but,
a couple of large chains that are saying they're not going to reopen also.
Yeah.
So they've had how many of the larger chains file for bankruptcy and protection and that? So.
Okay. So one of the other things going on at the General Assembly, this is the big story because everyone loves to talk about it because it's fun and salacious and oh my gosh, Bob, what do we do with Providence Plantations? So it's going on the ballot.
Back on the ballot. We did it 10 years ago.
Yep, and
it was soundly defeated, 80% to 20%.
Do you see that happening again this time around?
I see
that large.
No, not that large.
Okay,
but I see it going down to defeat.
You think so?
I think so. And that's because people that I talk to, at least, and this is all different segments of the population, say that history is history. We don't want to totally erase the history. Some people do. But the average person doesn't want to erase history. We just have to make sure we don't repeat it and we learn from the mistakes that we've made in the past.
Okay. Have you gotten any calls saying that we should get rid of it? You personally?
Probably a half dozen right now.
You have? Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
And also people that I've talked to on the streets when I'm out and around have told me a lot of them say that they don't. I'd probably say I'd go 2 to 1 right now that want to keep the name.
Okay. Well, I don't know if you can remember the exact numbers, but what was the vote in the House to put it on the ballot?
I believe it was unanimous.
Was it? Okay.
Yes, if I remember correctly.
That's good. That's a good number.
Well, that's because I think we don't want to make that decision ourselves. We don't want anybody.
You mean the legislature?
The legislature.
Let's make
let's
populace.
let the people vote for it and let them be heard and say, this is what we feel. And I think that's a smart idea on this issue.
Okay. If let's say it goes down to defeat and the name stays, will the governor put the name back on the websites? And
has to.
She's taken it, but will she rescind her executive order then?
We can take it off.
Okay.
When we stop if we stop the state of emergency, and when we stop the state of emergency, all the executive orders have to cease, from what I understand. And I'm not 100% sure on that, but I believe that at that time, all our executive orders would stop.
Okay. But this executive order has got really nothing to do with the coronavirus.
But she still did it under a state of emergency.
So it has to come off.
I would believe so.
Okay.
But again, I'm not 100% sure. I will double check. I'll write a note here. I bring my trusty notepad.
Just in case.
Just in case, so I can get the correct information. I don't like speaking without knowing the facts.
Okay. Now, we brought it up before on Coffee and Bob about this, and some other people were in agreement with me, go figure, but they figure, or I figure, that if the large majority of people that come out to vote are your older folks, and I'm talking like 50 and over,
All right.
they're the ones that are going to want to, for the most part, keep it the way it is. And it's the younger crowd, 40 and younger, that they're the ones that are doing most of the protesting and want it to change. But will that age group come out and vote to change it? I don't know.
They will come out and vote,
Yeah.
but will they come out in large enough numbers? I don't
Right.
know.
Okay.
I don't believe that they'll have enough numbers to overcome the numbers of the
To keep it.
seniors
Yeah.
or people, as you said, over 50 that will vote.
All right. I don't know if you know this. Will the question on the ballot, will it be phrased straightforward, where it makes perfect sense? Sometimes if you want something to happen, you got to vote no, and sometimes if you want something to happen, you got to vote yes. Will this be worded the way where it's simple?
I do not know that fact. I
Okay.
would hope it would be worded very
Yeah.
simple.
Yes. Do you
So it's
want to
not-
keep the name Providence Plantations? Yes or no?
Right.
Okay.
It would be should
Rhode Island.
the state of Rhode Island drop the Providence Plantations part of the name?
Okay.
Yes or no? Should they? If you
Approve,
vote yes,
decline, yeah.
If you vote yes, if it's worded that way, if you vote yes, you're dropping the name. If you vote no,
You're
you're
keeping it.
voting to keep it.
Okay. Well, that makes perfect sense. I hope it's worded that way.
I would tend to think that we need to make sure that the Secretary of State or whoever is in charge of putting that on the ballot, I believe it's the Secretary of State,
So she'll word it?
would word it so succinctly that people will understand it.
Okay. So and it passed the Senate too, right? So it's definitely
From what
on the
I
ballot.
understand, it passed the Senate, so it just has to go to the governors for her signature, and I figure she definitely will sign this thing.
Oh, I'm sure. All right, we're going to take a break here on the Coffee and program. So any comments or questions, especially for State Rep Bob Phillips, call them in at 766-1240 or email them in to coffee@woonsocket.radio.com. More of the Coffee and program is coming up. Stay tuned.
Community Care Alliance is open. We know that social isolation is hard and that many people are facing financial uncertainty at this time. If you or someone you know is struggling with addiction, declining mental status, or with obtaining basic needs, please call our intake line at 235-7121. Be assured that safety is our utmost concern and safeguards are in place, including providing counseling by telehealth. Help is just a phone call away. Call 235-7121 to learn how we may assist you during this difficult time.
I'm here with Celeste Benjamin of the Benjamin Insurance Agency in North Smithfield. Celeste, tell me about the Benjamin Agency.
Most of our business is providing home and auto insurance. However, we feel the most important thing is to insure people. Everyone insures their home, their autos, which are really just objects. I don't know if you know this, Dave, but only 57% of Americans even have life insurance. You may get into an accident, you may have a claim on your home, but life insurance is a guaranteed payout for your family. We are here to keep your family going. Our family serving your family.
You're in good hands with Allstate and Kara and Celeste Benjamin of the Benjamin Insurance Agency, 125 Eddie Dowling Highway, across from Dowling Village in North Smithfield, 765-5000. Well, the coronavirus restrictions certainly are changing the lives of everybody. That includes the folks at Chan's Fine Oriental Dining there on Main Street in Woonsocket. Now, Chan's, of course, no longer can have the Four Seasons banquet room with the special parties and all, and they certainly can't have the egg rolls and jazz, and they can't seat you in the dining room either because of restrictions. But Chan's has something that no other Chinese restaurant in the state has. A fantastic, easy-to-get-to drive-up window right in the back off Clinton Street. Now, you know how to get to Chan's from the Clinton Street parking lot. Well, right next to that is the drive-thru. And there's a sign right on the railroad trestle. Turn left, go right up in there. At Chan's, just call 765-1900 ahead, 765-1900. Great food from Chan's. Well, nothing's really back to normal yet, but we are making progress. Chan's is now serving their delectable dishes via their easy takeout window and in their comfortable dining room and cozy lounge. In fact, Chan's has karaoke every Friday night in the lounge, and Egg Rolls and Jazz is expected to return sometime in mid-July. Be sure to bring your masks to wear when you're not seated at your table when you return to Chan's Fine Oriental Dining, 267 Main Street in Woonsocket.
The Coffee and Panel is enjoying coffee from Down East Coffee in Pawtucket. They're a 62-year-old family business that roasts all its coffee right here in Rhode Island. Founded originally as Excellent Coffee Company, they provide great coffee to food service establishments throughout New England.
ON Radio.
All right, it is Coffee In here on ON Radio. This is Joe Callahan here with State Rep and State Rep-elect Bob Phillips. He's both.
Yeah. One and the same.
Congratulations to you. All right.
Thank you, Joe.
Moving on from Providence Plantations, although we do have some people that think we should just change the name of the state altogether to just Providence and make it just easy.
Yeah, I don't think so, because what happened to the other communities? Now you're being discriminatory against all the other communities. What about Cranston?
No.
What about Woonsocket?
No,
what about Pawtucket
no,
Central Falls?
What about, look at the state of New York.
Yeah.
Okay, New York, Providence.
Yeah, but they have a song for that.
Someone could come up with a song for this one, too, although that would be really difficult. There's way too many syllables. All right, the Providence Plantations question will be on the ballot this coming November. Now, the General Assembly also approved legislation to require gun dealers to notify the hometown police department of a would-be buyer's attempted purchase.
Correct.
I don't know if I agree with this.
Why?
Because you're attempting to buy the gun. If you're successful in buying the gun, then yeah, okay.
No.
Let the hometown police know about it. But if you're I just went in to try to buy a gun.
This is for your BCI check. Before you get it, you have to get a background check going on. So if there's anything that is in your history, let's say you're trying to get a gun, Joe.
Okay.
Okay. You live in Attleboro, if I remember correctly.
Close, Mansfield.
Okay. All right. Well, you live in Mansfield.
Yes.
As I said. And you want to buy the gun in Rhode Island, in Woonsocket here.
Okay.
Okay. Right now, they don't have to notify Mansfield that you're purchasing a gun in Woonsocket.
Okay.
So if you don't have anything on the record here that would prevent you from purchasing a firearm, but Mansfield does, what good is it? You may have some sort of a misdemeanor, maybe a felony in there that isn't caught up, and they don't know that you're a person that shouldn't be having a gun. They don't have any input onto it. This is what happened with the murder with this woman in Westerly. He was purchasing it a few towns over from his hometown. Well, the hometown police knew that he shouldn't have had a gun because maybe there was some mental issues or whatever. Yet he did get to purchase it, and now we see the result of that. So now, instead of going to Westerly or Woonsocket to get the check done to say approve or disapprove, it'll go to Mansfield, approve or disapprove.
And if they have something on me that says, "Oh no,
we've already had run-ins with him, and he's had
you really
mental
shouldn't.
issue or something."
Yes,
correct. They're more intimately knowledgeable of you. I could go to Texas and buy a gun, let's say.
Yeah. Okay.
How would they know what has happened, what I have done?
Well, they wouldn't.
Right, exactly.
Okay. So there is no law, I guess, that says you can't go from state to state buying firearms. Like you said, I'm from Massachusetts. I can come into Rhode Island and try to buy one.
Correct.
They wouldn't turn around and say, "Oh no, you can't buy it here. You have to buy it in your own home state."
That's correct. They can't do that. Same thing with ammunition only, though. Something I found out with debating this issue here is you don't even have to have a fire ID card to buy ammunition
in Rhode Island. Okay.
Some of the other states you do. So if I want to go into New York, let's say, and buy ammunition, I have to have a firearms ID license.
Okay.
I don't have to in Rhode Island. I could buy any amount of
bullets that you wanted, and no questions asked.
Correct.
As long as you got the money for it, no problem.
Correct.
And the gun dealers don't have to ask you, hey, what are you going to do this for?
No.
You can say, it's none of your business.
Yeah. Going to go hunting.
Yeah. The gun's at home. And what do you know?
Right.
Okay. Does Massachusetts, do you know, have that law? Do they have to show
I do not know that. I believe so. I believe that's why the people from Massachusetts who had felonies against them couldn't buy the ammunition in Massachusetts, so they came to Rhode Island.
Okay. Well, they're not that dumb, are they?
There's people that try to find ways to circumvent laws all the time.
Well, sure. All right. So that's going through as well. Tell us, Bob, what is the Rhode Island Parentage Act, and what does it do?
The way my understanding of the law, and it was explained quite explicitly last night when we had debates. And understand, we're in all different rooms. You have a certain number of members in the House chamber. You have a certain number of members that are in the House lounge. Then we had two other rooms, room 203 and 205, just outside the House chambers that had a certain number of members in there. The room I was in had probably 8 members in there, socially distant, and watching on TV all the debate in that. And if we needed to speak on it, we'd have to get up, go into the back end of the chamber, tell one of the staff members that we want to speak on this bill, and they had a podium at the end of the chamber for us to stand at and speak. So the way this law reads, from what I understand, is that they had the words father or parent, and now they've changed it so if you have a same-sex couple that had children, it would include that. If you had somebody that was a surrogate mother or father, or a donator to donate either eggs or sperm to create a life, that would include that. So they wanted to be inclusive and add all these different other options for a family
As
unit.
what constitutes a family?
Correct.
Okay. All right. Was that an issue before this came up? Or were some people saying
I
being
understand
discriminated against?
I understand that there were some, especially same-sex couples, that had issues with certain parts of it. Mm-hmm. So I think they just wanted to clarify everything. And it's taken, if I remember correctly, it's been 3 years that we were debating it.
Wow.
So there had to be some certain issues that had to be, or hurdles that had to be overcome so they can get everything the way they wanted it to. Because if you change it one way and somebody else objects, now you have to keep on debating everything.
Okay. Other bills that passed, amending emergency mail ballot procedures. What needed to be amended?
They wanted to waive a few of the other parts of the law. Let's say you have the applications. They're going to send us all mail ballot applications. Mm-hmm. It's not the mail ballots.
Yeah.
It's the application. You send that in, they mail you a mail ballot. You fill out your mail ballot and you mail it back in. That's what they want, what it's going to be if it gets passed. It passed the House, it's going to the Senate, or it was going to be debated after us last night in the Senate. What happened in the Senate, I'm not sure if it was even debated, but they wanted to circumvent